Welcome to Scott's Inverts. I'm Scott, these are the inverts, and today we're going to show you how to create a very easy, simple setup for a boreal species of tarantula using one of these. We are going to soak it in water to get rid of that label, and then we're going to get straight into building this tiny enclosure. Remember, we don't need these to be amazing looking. These are just a temporary enclosure ready for when that spider moves up into its subadult and adult species enclosures. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. So guys, this is our very cheap enclosure for medium to large slings. So this was bought for £1.29 from Range. I'm sure Asda, Tesco, Walmart and other hardware stores will have these in as well. We want to drill some holes around the top for ventilation. Do not worry about getting them in the perfect place or getting them lined up. We're going to drill the holes with this Dremel kind of copy. Make sure that drill bit there is smaller than the abdomen of the spider, so when you drill the holes, the spider won't be able to climb out of those holes. So we're going to put some holes now all around the top. So this will create hopefully an airflow which goes across the bottom of the substrate at the top and then straight up and out, helping to reduce things like mold, bad bacteria and other nasties that you can get in here. As we all know, small changes, anything small little tiny bad things in an enclosure can kill a sling really easy, including humidity. Anything over damp can also affect them. But like I just said, drill these holes. Don't worry about getting them perfect. You can make shapes with them. You put a smiley face in the top. Just make sure you get plenty in there. So there they are. We've got some bits of plastic sticking out. You can use a soldering iron if you can find one with a small enough nib. That will stop that from happening. I've chose to use a drill here, and all those bits of plastic just push straight off. Really easy anyway. And like I said, you don't have to get these perfect. As long as they're functional, that is the absolute best you can do. This is not a permanent enclosure, remember, so it does not have to look perfect. Now we want to get these holes around the side about a quarter of the way up in the enclosure, because that's where the substrate layer is going to be. So we're going to put the rest of the holes in and then join you back in just 1 second. So I hope you got that quick time lapse there, but we've got all the holes in. As I said, about a quarter of the way up, just taking the bits of plastic from around the edges off them now. Again, a soldering iron does stop this, but a soldering iron, you have to get a really tiny nib for it. Those holes is where the substrate is going to go up to. So they're going to go up about a quarter of the way up with that substrate just stopping just below those holes, so you get a good flow across the top of your substrate. Now we're going to take the lid off, get some Koya or whatever substrate that you want to use. Here we're using the Koya, and we're just going to top it up and get that just below those lines, and that'll be absolutely perfect. Just give it a slight push down as well. Just don't over harden it, just in case your spider wants to dig into it slightly. Just a gentle little tap. And then what I also like to do is put a little bit of loose on the top, so if that spider wants to pick some of it up and put it up onto its web, it can do so really easy. Now the next part is the cork bark. So we've got a round piece of cork bark. Now this piece of cork bark actually fits in there absolutely perfect, and that would be absolutely brilliant. But I want to kind of reduce how much cork bark I use, and I want to be able to use this piece for a couple. So I'm going to have a look down this cork bark now, and there's actually a crack going there, a natural crack going down the outside, if you can see that. So I'm going to push on that ever so slowly and try and split it across that crack. So here we go, fingers crossed it just goes down there perfect. One's a bit funky there, but that's completely fine. So that fits in there, and that curvature there, that's where the spider's going to go. It's going to web up all that area there and be absolutely happy. This other piece is going to go and be used in another arboreal sling enclosure. So I've managed to get two enclosures out of one piece of cork bark. Just press it firmly down into that substrate so it doesn't move when you twist it or when you turn it. It's all good to go. And we have a misting bottle here, which is a very fine mist. So we're just misting it a couple of times. And for the spider that's going in here, we're going to be doing this twice a week, which will be absolutely perfect for it. And that is all ready to go for your spider. Dead simple, dead easy. Does the job. What more do you want? Especially for £1.29 and for the price of a little bit of cocoa and a small piece of cork bark, which you've probably got lying around, to be fair. So the species that we're going to be putting in here is our Polithia subfuca. And what we've done there is left enough room inside to be able to put the sling pot in like that, so it can come out on its own, so you haven't got to worry about it flying out at the top or anything like that. And what I like to do is just leave it like that, put the lid back on the enclosure, come back after half an hour to an hour, see if it's come out of that sling pot, and if it has, we can then go in and remove the sling pot ever so gently. And that is your arboreal sling setup. So easy. The actual spider is hiding just behind it, and there we have the finished product. Cheap, cheerful, does the job, perfect. So guys, that is our very simple. Oh, there's a Polithia subfuca. Just going for a wander now. Very simple arboreal enclosure. We've left enough room there in case it wants to make like a tiny little burrow or bring substrate up onto its web. Humidity wise, this one's going to get a misting twice a week, a very light misting. Always check your humidity levels because it can be absolutely crucial when you're looking after your slings. These do not have to be good looking in any way, shape or form, because these are temporary housing until that spider is big enough to get up to its next level, and then eventually obviously into its permanent home, which that one you do want to be really nice. But she or he is doing absolutely awesome in there. These pots as well, if you do the holes down the bottom, if you put some holes here as well, about 3/4 of the way up, and fill the soil up to just below that hole as well, as they're great for a burrowing species. Terrestrial species, they're not going to last as long in here because terrestrial species do need a bit of floor cover to be walking across. But we'll have a look at one of those setups in just a couple of weeks. But for now, she is doing absolutely awesome. When you come to feeding or rehousing, always remember to have a look. This is what you need, one that you can see through. Always have a look, hold your pot that way, see where your spider is before taking that lid off, because if it's up on top, chances are it's going to come flying out, so just be very careful. Anyway guys, we have a subscriber giveaway coming up. It's going to be absolutely massive. We've already got one sponsor on board who's going to be giving us a ton of stuff to be given away, so make sure you hit subscribe button, and as always, we shall see you again on the next one.